Since the Wright brothers invented the first aircraft, aviation has evolved at an astonishing pace. Within just a few decades, some aircraft broke away from traditional design norms, venturing into uncharted territory. These unconventional flying machines, created for unusual purposes, defied expectations and pushed the limits of engineering. From nuclear-powered planes to flying saucers and inflatable aircraft resembling bouncing castles, here's a compilation of the strangest planes ever built for the most bizarre reasons. Convair NB-36H Crusader, the nuclear-powered bomber. With the goal of developing bizarre nuclear-powered aircraft, the United States Army Air Forces launched Project NEPA on May 28, 1946, to explore its feasibility. This initiative led to the creation of the Convair NB-36H Crusader, an experimental aircraft from the 1950s designed to test the potential of nuclear-powered flight. It was a modified Convair B-36 Peacemaker bomber designed to carry a functioning airborne nuclear reactor. While the reactor never powered the aircraft, it was used to study radiation shielding and operational challenges. To protect the crew from radiation, the NB-36H featured a heavily shielded cockpit with 12 tons of lead and rubber, making it one of the most radiation-protected aircraft ever built. It retained the B-36's 6 piston engines and 4 jet engines, using conventional fuel for propulsion. The aircraft flew 47 test missions between 1955 and 1957 over Texas and New Mexico, gathering crucial data for the aircraft nuclear propulsion program. Despite its innovative design, the NB-36H program was ultimately cancelled in 1961 due to safety concerns for radiation fallout during war times, plus technological limitations, and the rise of intercontinental ballistic missiles, which made nuclear-powered bombers unnecessary. Though it never led to an operational nuclear aircraft, the NB-36H remains a remarkable example of Cold War ingenuity and one of the most unique aircraft ever flown. VZ-9 Avrocar, the flying saucer. Aiming to create a UFO-like aircraft to intimidate its enemies, Canada collaborated with the US to develop what would become the first vertical takeoff plane. The VZ-9 Avrocar was an experimental flying vehicle developed in the 1950s by Avro Canada as part of a secret US military project. Designed to function as a vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, the Avrocar resembled a flying saucer, fueling speculation about UFOs during the Cold War. The US Air Force and Army funded the project in hopes of developing a high-speed, all-terrain reconnaissance and attack aircraft capable of operating without runways. The Avrocar was powered by a turbofan engine that directed thrust downward, creating a cushion of air similar to a hovercraft. In theory, it was intended to reach speeds of 300 miles per hour and fly at altitudes of 10,000 feet, but in practice, it struggled with stability and lift. During test flights from 1959 to 1961, engineers found that the aircraft became unstable at altitudes above a few feet, making it impractical for military use. Due to these performance issues, the US military cancelled the Avrocar project in 1961. While it never became a viable aircraft, the VZ-9 Avrocar remains a fascinating example of aviation innovation and a historical link to the era of experimental aircraft development during the Cold War. Boeing YAL-1 Airborne Laser, the missile-killing plane. The Boeing YAL-1 airborne laser was an experimental airborne directed energy weapon developed by the US Air Force to intercept and destroy enemy missiles in flight. Built on a modified Boeing 747-400F, the YAL-1 housed a megawatt-class chemical oxygen iodine laser designed to target ballistic missiles during their boost phase. Developed under the Airborne Laser Program, the YAL-1 featured a powerful turret-mounted laser in the nose, sophisticated tracking systems, and multiple targeting sensors. Its mission was to detect, track, and eliminate enemy missiles before they could reach their targets, making it a potential game-changer for missile defense. First flown in 2002, the YAL-1 successfully destroyed multiple test targets during live-fire demonstrations in 2010. However, despite its technological advancements, the program faced major challenges, including limited range, high operational costs, and the need for large quantities of chemical fuel to power the laser. By 2011, the US Air Force cancelled the project, citing cost concerns and the shift toward ground-based missile defense systems. The YAL-1 was officially retired in 2012 and later scrapped. Though never deployed in combat, the YAL-1 was a bizarre step in directed energy weapon technology, influencing future laser-based defense systems. NASA ADI-1, the oblique wing aircraft. The NASA ADI-1 was an experimental aircraft developed in the late 1970s to test a revolutionary oblique wing design. Built by Ames Industrial Corporation for NASA, the AD-1 featured a pivoting wing that could rotate up to 60 degrees to reduce aerodynamic drag at high speeds. The goal was to explore whether such a configuration could improve fuel efficiency and performance in future aircraft. The AD-1 was powered by two small turbojet engines and had a sleek, lightweight frame. It first flew in 1979. And over the next 4 years, NASA conducted 79 test flights to study how the oblique wing affected flight stability, control, and efficiency. At lower speeds, the wing remained perpendicular to the fuselage, but as speed increased, it was gradually rotated to its angled position. While the concept showed promise, the AD-1 had significant handling challenges, especially at extreme wing angles. Test pilots reported stability issues, making it clear that more development was needed before the design could be practical for larger aircraft. The program ended in 1982, but the AD-1 remains an important research aircraft that contributed to the understanding of oblique wing technology, influencing future aviation concepts for high-speed, fuel-efficient flight. Leduc 022, the ramjet-powered jet fighter. The Leduc 022 was an experimental French jet aircraft developed in the 1950s as part of an effort to create a high-speed ramjet-powered interceptor. It was an evolution of the earlier Leduc 010, which had pioneered ramjet propulsion, a technology that relied on high-speed airflow to compress incoming air instead of using traditional compressors. The Leduc 022 differed from its predecessors by incorporating a turbojet engine alongside its ramjet, allowing it to take off and accelerate to speeds where the ramjet could operate efficiently. This hybrid propulsion system was intended to give the aircraft greater flexibility and combat readiness. Its fuselage had a unique cylindrical shape designed to maximize aerodynamic efficiency, and the cockpit was located inside the air intake, giving it a distinctive appearance. The aircraft first flew in 1956, demonstrating promising speeds of over 746 miles per hour. However, by the late 1950s, advances in conventional jet aircraft and the emergence of guided missiles led to the project's cancellation in 1958. Although it never entered service, the Leduc 022 was a pioneering step in high-speed aviation, proving key concepts in ramjet propulsion and influencing future aircraft designs. McDonnell XF-85, Goblin the Parasite Fighter. The McDonnell XF-85 Goblin was an experimental parasite fighter developed in the late 1940s for the US Air Force. Designed to be carried inside the bomb bay of a Convair B-36 Peacemaker, the Goblin was meant to be deployed mid-flight to protect the bomber from enemy aircraft, then redock with the mothership after combat. The XF-85 was a small, egg-shaped jet fighter with no landing gear, relying entirely on its carrier aircraft for deployment and retrieval. It was powered by a Westinghouse J-34 WE-7 turbojet engine, giving it a top speed of 648 miles per hour. To reconnect with the bomber, it used a hook and trapeze system, but this proved extremely difficult to operate in real-world conditions. Test flights in 1948 revealed that docking was highly unstable, with pilots struggling to latch onto the trapeze in turbulent air. After several failed attempts, the program was cancelled in 1949, as advancements in aerial refueling and long-range escort fighters made the concept obsolete. Though never used in combat, the XF-85 Goblin remains one of the most unique fighter aircraft ever built for a bizarre purpose. Dornier. Do-31, the jet-powered VTOL transport. The Dornier Do-31 was a German experimental vertical takeoff and landing transport aircraft developed in the 1960s. It was designed to provide the West German Air Force with a tactical transport aircraft capable of operating from short, unprepared airstrips near the front lines. The project aimed to enhance mobility and logistics for NATO forces during the Cold War. The Do-31 had a unique propulsion system featuring 2 Pegasus turbofan engines for forward flight and 8 Rolls-Royce RB-162 lift engines housed in wingtip pods for vertical takeoff and landing. This made it the first and only VTOL jet-powered transport aircraft ever built. First flown in 1967, the aircraft demonstrated impressive VTOL capabilities, achieving successful takeoffs, hovers, and transitions to conventional flight. However, the Do-31 faced severe technical and financial challenges, including high fuel consumption, complex maintenance requirements, and limited payload capacity compared to conventional transport aircraft. By 1970, the program was cancelled due to high costs and shifting military priorities. Despite its short lifespan, the Dornier Do-31 remains an engineering marvel and a pioneering effort in VTOL transport aviation, influencing later aircraft like the Lockheed Martin F-35B and modern tilt-rotor designs. Goodyear inflatoplane, the inflatable aircraft. The Goodyear inflatoplane was a unique experimental aircraft developed in the 1950s by Goodyear Aircraft Company as a lightweight, inflatable airplane designed for emergency rescue and military operations. Made primarily from reinforced, rubberized fabric, the aircraft could be deflated, packed into a small container, and quickly reinflated using an air compressor. This made it highly portable and ideal for downed pilots or covert operations behind enemy lines. The inflatoplane was powered by a small 2-stroke engine, producing around 40 horsepower and had a top speed of approximately 72 miles per hour. It could take off from short runways and had a range of about 440 miles. Despite its unusual construction, test flights proved that it was surprisingly airworthy and easy to maneuver. However, the US Army ultimately cancelled the project in 1973, citing concerns over the aircraft's vulnerability to gunfire, weather conditions, and structural durability. The idea of an inflatable aircraft was deemed impractical for military use. Though it never saw operational service, the Goodyear inflatoplane remains one of the most creative aviation experiments in history, showcasing the potential of inflatable technology in aircraft design and emergency rescue solutions. Antonov An-2-25 Maria. The Antonov An-2-25 Maria was a giant cargo aircraft developed by the Ukrainian company Antonov in the 1980s. Originally designed to transport the Buran space shuttle, the An-2-25 became the world's largest and heaviest cargo plane, earning the title of the heaviest aircraft ever built. It was powered by 6 turbofan engines and featured a wingspan of 290 feet, making it an engineering marvel. The An-2-25's most distinctive feature was its unique nose section. which could be raised to allow cargo to be loaded and unloaded through the front of the aircraft, a configuration inspired by the design of the Lockheed C-5 Galaxy. It was capable of carrying up to 250 tons of cargo, including oversized and heavy items such as rail cars, military equipment, and large machinery. The aircraft first flew in 1988, and it was used for a variety of transport missions over the years, both for commercial and humanitarian purposes. In addition to its size, the An-225 was praised for its ability to reach high altitudes and maintain remarkable stability despite its massive structure. Sadly, the An-225 was destroyed during the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine while stationed at Hostomel Airport, marking the end of an iconic era in aviation history.